If you watch Muslims pray, you notice something strange. No matter where they are in the world, they all face the same direction, toward a black cube in the middle of the Saudi Arabian desert called the Kaaba. 1.8 billion people, 5 times a day, turning toward this structure, and most non-Muslims have to question, what is that thing? And what is inside it? And here is where final truth breaks from every other Islamic channel. Because we are going to tell you something most Muslims do not even know. The Kaaba is empty. Completely empty. There is nothing inside. No idol, no statue, no religious artifact, just 4 walls in this. Emptiness is not a flaw, it is the entire theological point. And when you understand why, you understand something profound about Islam that separates it from every other religion on earth. But first, we destroy some myths. The Kaaba is not what Muslims worship. This is the most common misunderstanding. People see Muslims praying toward a cube and think Muslims worship the cube. But Muslims do not worship direction. Muslims worship God. The Kaaba is a qibla, a unified direction, so that when Muslims pray anywhere on earth, they are physically unified. 1.8 billion people, synchronized, and here is the genius. Islam could have said pray north, or pray toward the sun, or pray however you want. But instead Islam said pray toward a single physical location. And this does something psychologically powerful. It creates unity. When you are in New York praying toward Mecca, and someone in Malaysia is praying toward Mecca, and someone in South Africa is praying toward Mecca, you are all connected. You are part of something bigger than yourself. This is not just spiritual. This is practical. Islam built in global unity from the beginning. But here is where it gets deeper. Why is the Kaaba empty? Because Islam is making a point. Inside the holiest site in Islam, there is nothing, no representation of God, no image, no symbol. Because God cannot be represented. This is the core of Islamic theology called Tawhid. Absolute oneness. God is not like creation. God cannot be drawn, cannot be sculpted, cannot be contained in a building. And the Kaaba proves it. You can enter the Kaaba. A few people are allowed inside every year for cleaning, and they describe the same thing. The walls, some inscriptions, and emptiness. And that emptiness is the message. God is not in the building. God is everywhere. The building just unifies the direction. And here is why this is genius. Every other major religion has sacred objects. Christianity has the cross. Hinduism has murtis. Buddhism has Buddhist statues. But Islam's holiest site is deliberately empty. Because the moment you put something inside, people will start worshiping that thing instead of God. Islam cuts this off at the foundation. Nothing in the Kaaba means nothing can become an idol. And here is what most Muslims do not know. The Kaaba was not always empty. Before Islam, the Kaaba was filled with 360 idols. The pagan Arabs worshipped these idols. They believed each idol represented a different god or power, and when Prophet Muhammad conquered Mecca in 630 CE, the first thing he did was enter the Kaaba and destroy every single idol. He cleared it completely, and he said truth has come and falsehood has vanished. And the Kaaba has been empty ever since. And this is the theological message. The house of God contains nothing because nothing in creation is worthy of worship except the Creator. And here is where both Muslims and non-Muslims miss the point. Non-Muslims think Muslims worship a cube, and Muslims just pray toward it without understanding the deeper meaning. Both are wrong. The Kaaba is a symbol of unity and a reminder of Tawhid. It is not the destination, it is the direction. God is the destination, and here is the challenge. If you are non-Muslim and you thought Muslims worship the Kaaba, you just learned something that most Muslims do not even explain correctly. We do not worship the building. We worship the one who created everything, including the building. And if you are Muslim and you just pray toward the Kaaba without understanding why it is empty, you are missing the entire point. The emptiness is the message. God cannot be contained. God cannot be represented. God is beyond all creation, and the Kaaba proves it. And here is something that will blow your mind. During Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, millions of Muslims circle the Kaaba 7 times in a ritual called Tawaf. And when you see it from above, from a drone, you see millions of people in white moving in concentric circles around an empty cube. And it looks exactly like electrons orbiting a nucleus, or planets orbiting a star, or galaxies orbiting a center. This is not coincidence. This is Islam showing you how the universe works. Everything in creation revolves around a center, and that center for humans is God. The Kaaba is the physical representation of the spiritual reality. You are not worshiping the building. You are symbolically revolving your life around God, just like everything in the universe revolves around its center. And this is final truth. This is the kind of depth that traditional Islamic content never explains. They just say pray toward Mecca. They do not explain the theology. They do not explain the genius. They do not explain why emptiness is more powerful than any statue or symbol. And here is the final point. 7 million Muslims travel to Mecca every year. For Hajj, they spend thousands of dollars. They travel across continents. They push through crowds, all to see an empty room. And this makes no sense unless you understand that the room is not the point. The submission is the point. The unity is the point. The reminder of God's transcendence is the point. And when you understand this, when you understand why Muslims face a unified direction toward a deliberately empty building, you understand something profound about Islamic theology. It is not about the building. It is not about the ritual. It is about constantly reorienting your life toward God. 5 times a day, physically turning your body toward Mecca, reminding yourself that no matter where you are, no matter what you are doing, God is the center, and everything else revolves around that. And this is what separates Islam from cultural religion. Islam built unity and theology into the physical act of worship. You cannot be Muslim and forget the direction. You cannot be Muslim and forget the oneness of God. Because 5 times a day you physically enact it. You turn toward Mecca. You face the empty Kaaba. You remember that God is beyond representation, and you pray. And here is the challenge. Whether you are Muslim or not, whether you believe or not, you just learn something about the Kaaba that most people do not know. It is empty, deliberately empty, theologically empty, and that emptiness contains more meaning than any idol or statue ever could. Subscribe to Final Truth if you want more Islamic theology that actually explains the why, not just the what, because most Muslims know what to do, but they do not know why they do it. And that makes their worship shallow, and most non-Muslims think they understand Islam, but they do not even understand the basics like why the Kaaba is empty. And both groups need final truth, because truth does not care about your assumptions. It just is, and the truth about the Kaaba is that the emptiness is the message, and that message is toward absolute oneness, and nothing in creation deserves worship except the Creator, and the Kaaba proves it every single day.